Single mom revealed her son's heartwarming drawing to the CEO. His unexpected reaction changed everything. On a crisp autumn afternoon, Sarah stood in the living room of their small, one-bedroom apartment, the walls decorated with Lucas's drawings. Exuberant colors dance across the paper, each stroke full of life and passion, each picture a window into her son's hopeful universe. Today, she felt a twinge of excitement as Lucas burst through the door, beaming with a newly created masterpiece. "Look, Mom." His little hands held up a vibrant drawing of their community, one overflowing with families, friends, and laughter, a perfect reflection of their hard yet loving life. Sarah's heart swelled at the mere sight of it. But the drawing wasn't just the result of an art class, it was a chance. Lucas told her Mr. Thompson, a big-time CEO and local philanthropist, was coming to their school. A bittersweet knot tightened in her gut. This could be their golden ticket to change their moment, to outshine the shadows of economic hardship that loomed over them like dark clouds. She could already see it in her mind, a path forged from Lucas's creativity right into a brighter future. Grinding her teeth, dread settled in her chest as she prepared to present the artwork. Would the CEO see them? She pictured his immaculate suit and polished shoes, and felt her confidence shrink. She didn't belong in the same room as him, did she? But then Lucas's excited words echoed in her mind, "Don't be scared, Mom." With her pulse racing, she decided to confront her fears. Trembling slightly, she approached Mr. Thompson, her hands unsteady as she extended the ink-smudged paper. In that moment, the air shifted. Mr. Thompson took a long look at what Lucas had created, and then, shocking everyone, tears unexpectedly glistened in his eyes. "I can't believe this," he said, his voice choked with emotion. He shared memories of his own childhood struggles, illuminating his vulnerability. The collective gasp from onlookers resonated like a wave crashing on the shore. Here was a man who once walked a similar path, lost in struggles and no less deserving of kindness than anyone else. The atmosphere buzzed, a mixture of hope and beginnings. Mr. Thompson pledged to advocate for families like Sarah's, sparking discussions on economic inequality in their community. Yet somewhere deep down, Sarah wrestled with doubt. Could someone wielding such power really understand and uplift their lives? Could this connection actually bridge the gap of their vastly different realities? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As neighbors gathered outside the school, the energy crackled in the air, conversations swirled. Communities united in cautious optimism, whispering fervently about the promise of change. But with that excitement emerged skepticism. Was it naive to believe one man could make a difference? Amid this whirlwind, Sarah felt both elation and trepidation. The world around her buzzed with urgency, every voice combined to amplify the struggle for change. Desperate for hope amidst uncertainty, the question remained, would Sarah step out from the shadows of her insecurities and accept the potential that lay before them? Or would fear continue to bind her, keeping them in the grip of their harsh reality? The story hung on a knife's edge, inviting the world to witness whether love could truly break the barriers they faced or if it all was too good to be true. The following days spiraled into a flurry of activity. Sarah found herself pulled into meetings and conversations she never anticipated being part of. The school buzzed with energy as parents whispered about Mr. Thompson's pledge. Some were skeptical, while others clung to the hope of a better tomorrow. Every morning, Lucas would bounce out of bed, energized by the miracle his drawing had unintentionally sparked. He'd ask his mom, "Is Mr. Thompson helping yet?" His little eyes sparkled with innocence and excitement, but Sarah often found herself lost in thought, wrestling with her own feelings of inadequacy. She wanted to be the mother who could confidently tell him that change was on the horizon, yet doubts clawed at her like the autumn chill seeping through their thin walls. One afternoon, Sarah found herself sitting at a community meeting where the air was thick with anticipation. Mr. Thompson stood in front, representing not just himself but a beacon of hope for families like hers. He spoke passionately about the support he intended to offer, new programs for tutoring, affordable after-school activities, and even scholarships for local high school students. The crowd erupted in applause, but while others cheered, Sarah's heart beat heavily. She felt an overwhelming sense of loss, as if she were standing outside of something incredible happening just within reach. After the meeting, Sarah hesitated near the exit. Families streamed past her, voices bright with enthusiasm. "Sarah! Come join us!" A friend called out, but her lips pressed into a tight line, unsure if she belonged to that world of hope and potential. She felt tethered to her past, uncertain if she was ready to chase after a future that seemed too distant. Then she spotted Mr. Thompson standing alone, scanning faces in the crowd. A surge of courage washed over her. She took a deep breath and approached him. Her hands were clammy, her heart raced, but his smile was warm and inviting. "Lucas's drawing," she began, trying to steady her voice. "It seemed to mean something to you." "It meant everything," he replied, earnest light radiating from his eyes. "It reminds me of why I fight for families like yours." Sarah couldn't hold back. "But can you really make a difference? Can you help us?" It was a question fueled by years of disappointment, by hopes dashed and dreams deferred. Mr. Thompson looked deeply into her eyes, and in that moment, it felt like time stood still. "I promise, Sarah. We will work together. Your voice matters." The sincerity in his tone struck a chord inside her, a flicker of something long buried, the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she deserved better for Lucas. Silence hung between them, thick with the weight of her unasked questions. What did collaborating with him truly look like? The reality of facing her fears loomed large, and yet she felt a glimmer of something she hadn't experienced in ages. Possibility. As days turned into weeks, Sarah began to let herself dream again. She attended more community gatherings, engaging with other parents who shared their own stories of struggle and resilience, but with this newfound hope came another feeling: fear, uncomfortable yet familiar. The question lingered like a shadow: what if she failed? What if this was all just another empty promise? Standing at the edge of possibility, Sarah felt the pull of inevitability. She had to make a choice. The potential for change was right there, shimmering in the distance, begging her to reach out. But could she take that leap, or would she retreat once more into the shadows of doubt? The moment rested heavily on her shoulders, a choice waiting to be made, as the world around her held its breath, awaiting her answer. Would Sarah let herself believe in the promise of a brighter tomorrow? Or would she withdraw, letting doubt hold her back once again? In the days that followed her conversation with Mr. Thompson, Sarah felt caught in an emotional whirlwind. Each morning, Lucas would awaken with the same question, his face lit up like sunshine peeking through clouds. Is Mr. Thompson helping yet? His optimism cut through her uncertainty, but deep down, she was wrestling with the shadows of her past. With every community meeting she attended, she noticed a change in herself. Voices that once sounded distant now echoed inside her mind, their stories weaving into her own. A community that once felt daunting began to feel like a family, a collective group sharing aspirations, fears, and dreams. There was a unity in their struggles, a thread that tied each story together, binding strangers into a tapestry of hope. Yet, an invisible weight sat heavy in her chest. Doubt lingered like a persistent fog that refused to lift. Why was it so hard to believe that things could change? She spent late nights awake, replaying old failures that churned her gut. What if she placed her faith in Mr. Thompson only to find herself disappointed again? One evening, as Sarah prepared dinner, she noticed Lucas meticulously sketching at the kitchen table. His brow furrowed with concentration, and she felt a warmth unfurl within her. That little boy's imagination was a universe bursting with potential. She watched as he transformed a blank page into wild landscapes, characters with endless stories, each stroke a declaration that life could be more than it was. "Lucas," she called softly, "what are you drawing?" His head snapped up, a proud grin stretching across his face. "I'm making a comic about a superhero who helps everyone. He helps schools, families, and even animals. Everyone loves him." The joy in his voice twisted something deep in her. "What's his name?" "Hope." Lucas squealed, laughing as if it was the most natural choice in the world. The authenticity of his belief stirred something long dormant inside her. Could she be that superhero for him? Could she be a voice of hope, as the sun began to sink below the horizon, transforming the sky into a canvas of oranges and purples? Sarah realized that she could embrace both fear and hope. She could face the uncertainty of the future while leaning into the possibility it held. The next day, she decided to email Mr. Thompson. The words flowed like the warmth radiating from her heart. She wrote about her dreams for Lucas and how he inspired her to rise above her doubts. It felt liberating to express herself, their dreams intertwined on the screen. After sending the email, she felt lighter, as if she had shed a heavy coat. Maybe the act of reaching out was the first step toward something bigger. She could see Mr. Thompson's influence taking form and imagined the ripples of change expanding through their community, but the moment of clarity was quickly dashed when her phone buzzed. Nervously, she glanced at it, an alert. Meeting with Mr. Thompson tomorrow morning at the school. A rush of anxiety gripped her. What if she didn't fit in? What if she stumbled over her words? As she prepared for bed, the weight of the invitation lingered, thrumming through her veins. Tomorrow would be a turning point. Would she step into the light and share her story? Would she be vulnerable and admit that she was scared? Or would she pull back, hiding in the shadows? Sarah lay awake, wrestling with her fears and the glowing ember of hope. The decision hung in the air, teetering between fear and the promise of change. Somewhere within her, she knew that embracing that hybrid feeling was key. But could she open her heart to the possibilities? The next day approached steadily, and with it, the chance to step out of the darkness. The moment of truth loomed just ahead, waiting to reveal what lay in store for Sarah and her little superhero. The morning arrived with a nervous energy that clung to Sarah like fog. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear as she stared at Lucas, who was twirling his breakfast spoon, lost in thought. "Are you excited, Mommy? You'll be great." His faith in her felt like a buoy in a tempestuous sea, and she smiled, though it wobbled at the edges. "Yeah, buddy, I hope so." She poured him another glass of juice, trying to keep her hands steady. The clock ticked ominously as she prepared them for their day. Each tick pushed her closer to uncertainty, but with Lucas' bright eyes upon her, she straightened her back, reminding herself to channel his superhero spirit. As they arrived at the school, a wave of familiarity washed over her. The bright murals on the walls were hopeful, welcoming, but the crowd that gathered made her pulse quicken. Parents milled about, chatting about their lives and dreams for their children, their confidence wrapped in warmth. But Sarah felt like an outsider. Doubts flickered in her mind, battling freshly ignited hopes. "Mom." Lucas tugged at her sleeve, pulling her out of her thoughts. "Look, there's Mr. Thompson." Her heart raced when she spotted the man at the front of the room, radiating authority as well as kindness. Mr. Thompson's presence commanded attention, his smile genuine. She couldn't help but feel a spark of inspiration as the meeting started. He spoke about changes that could uplift the community and imparted a vision that even made her breath catch. As the conversations flowed, Sarah found herself sitting quietly, absorbing every word. It was magnetic. But as the time for sharing came, her palms turned clammy. Lucas nudged her gently, whispering, "You can do it, Mommy." Taking a deep breath, she stood. The chatter hushed around her, the room filled with anticipatory silence. She hesitated, words lodged in her throat. Then, she spotted Lucas drawing peeking out of her bag. Hope. A surge of courage surged through her. "Hello, everyone, I'm Sarah," she said, her voice quivering but resolute. "I've been working with my son, Lucas, who inspired me in ways I didn't think were possible." She pulled out the colorful comic and unfolded it for everyone to see. "This is his superhero, Hope." The crowd leaned in, curious. "Lucas believes that every action, big or small, contributes to changing the world. I want to hold on to that belief. I want to create a community where we can support each other, where hope doesn't just exist as an idea but thrives in action." As she spoke, she noticed the expressions on people's faces shifting from skepticism to warmth, from uncertainty to engagement. She could see nods of understanding, smiles beginning to blossom. Thompson watched intently, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. "That's a beautiful sentiment, Sarah." His voice was steady, yet tender. "Hope is indeed the first step. I'd love to talk further about how we can bring that vision to life." The room erupted into murmurs of enthusiasm and encouragement, but beyond the sound, Sarah felt a pulse within her, a blend of fear and exhilaration. "Thank you," she murmured, suddenly overwhelmed by the moment. She caught Lucas' eye, and a silent connection passed between them. Lucas beamed, and she couldn't help but feel buoyed by his light. But as she sat back down, the exhilaration receded, replaced by a heavy wave of what-ifs. What if Mr. Thompson only said that to be polite? What if the enthusiasm faded when it was time to act? Her mind raced as she fought to quiet the doubts that threatened to drown her, yet, amidst the chaos, another thought flickered to life. If today was a step forward, what might tomorrow bring? As conversations resumed, and Mr. Thompson began to outline concrete steps, Sarah felt hope stir again. But just as she thought she had taken a leap toward change, she saw a familiar figure walking into the room, a figure from her past. His presence sent a shudder down her spine. What would this surprise mean for her journey? Would the past come crashing down on her newly built castle of hope? Sarah's heart sank as she recognized the figure making his way through the crowd. Her palms grew damp, and the familiar taste of anxiety filled her mouth. Mark. The name lingered in her mind like a haunting echo. They hadn't spoken in years, but she would never forget the way he walked out, leaving a gaping hole in her life. Lucas, sensing his mother's shift in energy, turned to her, his eyes wide with concern. "Mommy, are you okay?" His small hand rested on her arm, grounding her amidst the emotional storm. "I'm fine, sweetheart," she managed, forcing a smile as she kept her gaze fixed on Mark. He was taller than she remembered, with an air of confidence that only deepened her insecurities. How had he ended up here, in a place that felt so monumental to her? Mark's eyes scanned the room, finally landing on her. Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. Would he come over? Would he speak to her? She wasn't sure she wanted that, but a part of her was curious. What did he think of her life now? "Hey, look at me," Lucas whispered, pulling her focus back. "Remember what you said about hope? You've got this, Mommy." His faith wrapped around her like a warm blanket, but it barely held the chill from Mark's presence at bay. She watched as Mark approached Mr. Thompson, exchanging words and laughter. It was surreal. She wondered if he would recognize the child he had left behind. Lucas was his son too, after all. Just a moment. Mr. Thompson's voice sliced through the buzz, bringing everyone's attention back to him. "Before we dive deeper into Sarah's vision and how we can all contribute, I just want to acknowledge someone unexpected joining us today." Sarah's heart raced again. This was it. Mark would either change everything or remain a ghost from her past. She took a deep breath, willing her pulse to steady. Mr. Thompson stepped aside, and the room quieted as he gestured toward Mark. "Please join me up here," the principal said, his tone engaging. Mark glanced back at Sarah, and for a moment, their eyes locked. A myriad of emotions flashed through her: fear, anger, nostalgia, and a sliver of hope. A knot tightened in her stomach. Why had he decided to show up now? "Hello everyone," Mark began, his voice confident yet calm. "I'm Mark, and I used to be a part of this community. I'm here to support Sarah and her endeavor." The words felt like a wave crashing against her. Support? After all this time? She could hardly process it. She just stood there, frozen, as he smiled at the crowd. People seemed intrigued, whispering among themselves. And Lucas? He sat bewildered, tilting his head to absorb every detail. "I know I have a lot to make up for," Mark continued, his voice slightly cracking. "But I believe in what Sarah is doing. Hope is powerful, and it's real. Together, we can create something meaningful for our children." Sarah struggled to breathe. Did she trust him? Could she really accept the idea of him being back in her life? This wasn't how she had envisioned her day or her future. Mr. Thompson clapped, sparking a ripple of applause throughout the room. Sarah's heart pounded as she felt torn between her past and her dreams. Lucas glanced up at her, his eyes sparkling with curiosity and hope. "Should we believe in him, Mommy?" he asked softly, his small voice trembling with innocence. She didn't know how to answer. Would his arrival shatter what she had begun to build? Or could it actually become part of the path forward? As cheers filled the air and Mark stepped down, her head spun. The way forward twisted into the unknown, but one thing felt certain: they were embarking on a journey neither of them could have anticipated. Was Mark really here to help? Or was it just another day of chasing shadows? The moment felt pivotal, teetering on the edge between promise and peril. The applause rolled through the room like a summer wave, pulling Sarah in conflicting directions. She felt dizzy with uncertainty as Mark stepped off the makeshift stage. He was back, and even as she tried to push the feelings aside, her mind raced with old memories and fresh possibilities. "Mommy!" Lucas exclaimed, breaking her reverie. "Can I go see him? He looks nice." His enthusiasm was a light amidst Sarah's storm. "Just a minute, sweetheart," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. Watching Lucas's innocent excitement over a man who had once turned his back on them tugged painfully at her heartstrings, Mark moved through the crowd, exchanging smiles and handshakes. It was like he was weaving back into the fabric of this community after years of absence. But what about their lives, the life she had built without him? "Sarah?" Mr. Thompson's voice brought her back again. He stood beside her, his brow furrowed with concern. "You okay? You look a bit pale." "I'm fine," she reassured him, avoiding his gaze. "Just processing." He nodded with understanding. "It's a lot. Just take your time." As he stepped away, Sarah felt a tug at her sleeve. It was Lucas again, his eyes wide and pleading. "Can we talk to him? Like a meeting?" She glanced toward Mark, who was animatedly discussing plans with other parents. Something churned in her chest. Could she really let Lucas near him, after all the hurt? "Maybe later, okay?" Sarah said, forcing a smile. Lucas crossed his arms, pouting slightly. "But he said he wants to help. What if he can be there for us, Mommy?" The hope glimmering in her son's eyes made her want to burst. Could it be true? Could Mark have changed? Or was he simply saying what everyone wanted to hear? Suddenly, Sarah felt a fire igniting within her, an unusual mix of fear and determination. "You know what? Let us go talk to him," she said, surprising even herself. Panic surged through her but was quickly chased by a sense of empowerment. Lucas beamed, and as they walked toward Mark, she felt the ground beneath her feet shift. Each step echoed louder in her mind. A decision was being made there on her feet. Mark turned when he saw them approach, his smile instantly brightening. "Sarah." "Lucas. I didn't know you were here. I'm really glad to see you both." Sarah cleared her throat, the words barely pushed through. "Can we talk?" "Of course," Mark responded, his expression open and inviting. As they found a quieter corner, Sarah felt the crowd fade away. It was just them, wrapped in the weight of old wounds and flickers of new beginnings. "Hey, buddy," Mark said, kneeling down to Lucas's level. "How are you doing?" Lucas glanced furtively at his mother before responding, "I'm good. I really liked what you said about helping." "Yes," Sarah interrupted, her voice steadier than she felt. "Why are you really here, Mark? What changed?" His gaze turned serious, and Sarah felt the tension in the air rise. "I spent a lot of time thinking about my mistakes. I want to make things right. I want to be part of your lives if you'll let me." Sarah felt everything whirl around her. Could she trust him after everything? Was this a real change, or just another moment of talk with no sincerity behind it? Before she could say anything, Lucas jumped in. "Can we be a team? You can help us. Like superheroes." A small smile broke on Mark's lips, but Sarah noticed the flickering shadow of uncertainty in his eyes. "I'd love that, Lucas. But I need your mom's support too." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Mark was looking at her now, and in that moment, she had to decide. Should she let the past close her off from the hope of tomorrow? What would a partnership look like after all they had been through? As silence settled, the question loomed. Sarah's heart raced, eager and terrified all at once. What's the next step in this complicated story? Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she stared into Mark's hopeful eyes. The years of hurt, the weight of broken promises loomed like a shadow between them. She was the fortress, strong but weary, and although part of her craved to believe in change, fear gripped her tightly. "Mark, it's not that simple," she finally replied, searching for the right words. "You can't just come back and expect everything to be normal." The word sat heavy on her tongue. Normal had seemed so far off for so long. Mark nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I know that. Look, I don't expect you to trust me right away. I just want to show you that I'm serious about this." Lucas, listening intently, felt the weight of the moment. "We can go on adventures together, and you can teach me stuff." His excitement was contagious, and despite herself, Sarah felt a flicker of warmth. In that small sentiment, Sarah's resolve started to crack. Mark's gaze returned to her, filled with sincerity. "I messed up, and I can't change the past. But I want to be there for both of you in the future." The sincerity in his voice tugged at her insecurities. What did it mean to let him back into their lives? She looked at Lucas, whose bright blue eyes shimmered with hope, and she couldn't help but feel a pang in her chest. Was this her opportunity? Could this be a rebuilding of a fragmented family? "Let us say I agree to this," she challenged, needing to ground her emotions. "What does it mean? What are you willing to do?" "I want to help at home, take Lucas to the park, maybe volunteer at his school." "Small things to start with," Mark proposed, his voice steady. "Small steps," Sarah murmured, inviting herself to visualize the potential of everyday moments: laughter, trust, the smell of freshly cut grass in the park, a picnic underneath sunny skies. A hint of a smile graced Mark's lips, and Sarah felt a confusing mix of emotions. Did she dare let herself dream again? "Do you really think you can do this?" she pressed. "I believe I can be better, for you and for Lucas. I'm committed to making it right." The determination in his eyes felt almost infectious. Just as she was about to respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the moment. She pulled it out and glanced at the screen. It was a reminder for a parenting meeting at school tomorrow, an invitation that felt like a weight pressing down on her. "Are you going to the school meeting tomorrow?" Sarah asked, her voice lighter now, betraying her curiosity. Lucas perked up. "Oh. Can we go, Mommy? Can we invite him?" With Mark's presence pushing through her initial reservations, she hesitated. "It's a big group, Lucas. Are you sure this is something you want?" "Yeah. Superheroes together," Lucas chirped, looking at Mark hopefully. Mark chuckled, a genuine sound that made Sarah smile despite herself. I can be your sidekick. I think I need a lot of help too. Sarah stared between them, the two of them forming a picture in her mind that she hadn't imagined in years together, hopeful, possibly a new beginning. All right, she said, surprising herself again. If you come to the meeting, it might help me understand better. Mark nodded, his eyes shining with renewed purpose. I'll be there. I promise. As they began moving back through the crowd, Sarah felt something inside her shift. Perhaps, just maybe, this was the first step toward healing. But as they approached the cluster of cheerful parents and friendly chatter, a voice called out from the side. It was Mr. Thompson again, his brow creased but this time with a familiar warmth. Sarah, can I have a word with you for a moment? Sarah turned, her heart sinking a little. What did he want now? Sure, just a second, she replied, turning to Mark. I'll be right back. The moment's shift left Sarah with questions buzzing in her head. What did Mr. Thompson need? Was he worried about her? Would he disapprove of her choices? After a few steps, she found herself caught on the precipice of possibility, uncertain whether she was stepping into the light or deeper into shadows again. As she moved toward Mr. Thompson, she felt the question linger unspoken. Was this chance at reconciliation pushing her toward hope or leading her into uncertainty? What awaited her in that next conversation could change everything. Mr. Thompson waited a moment, his hands stuffed in his pockets as he glanced around at the milling parents and children. The air was thick with laughter and the sound of small feet pattering on the school's polished floor. Sarah felt the weight of anticipation pressing against her. Sarah, he began, his voice lower than usual. I wanted to talk to you about the upcoming school meeting. A flood of worry washed over her. Is something wrong? Are they planning any changes I should know about? He shook his head. No, nothing like that. It's more about Lucas. I'm not sure if you've considered. He hesitated, his brow furrowing slightly. How much he seems to admire you both. What do you mean? She asked, her pulse quickening. You know how each kid has those drawings they do at school, right? Recently, Lucas created this piece for the school art showcase. It wasn't just any drawing, it was a family portrait, a picture of the three of you. Sarah's heart thudded. She hadn't seen that drawing, hadn't realized it existed. Mr. Thompson continued, what struck me about it was how he positioned you and Mark side by side, even sharing a space. It's evident he wants that. He wants you together. A lump formed in Sarah's throat. The thought of Lucas wanting them to be a family again sent chills through her. I was not aware he was feeling that way, she whispered. Mr. Thompson nodded, understanding. Kids are perceptive, even when we think they're oblivious. It's clear he sees hope in your relationship with Mark. But we've been through so much, Sarah stammered. Is this what he really wants? Or is it just innocent wishful thinking? Both, I think. He leaned in closer. Remember, kids have a unique way of processing emotions. He may not fully understand the complexities, but what's clear is the bond he shares with you too. That's powerful. Sarah's mind raced. She could see Lucas, pencil in hand, concentrating fully on capturing his vision of a family. Would she dare discuss his feelings with him? Suddenly, a thought hit her. What if we talked to him about it? What if we made the effort to ask him how he feels about, well, everything? Absolutely, Mr. Thompson encouraged. Involving him in these conversations can only deepen your relationship. And who knows, you might be surprised by what he has to say. She nodded slowly, a flicker of determination igniting within her. For Lucas, she would begin to bridge that gap, one conversation at a time. Yet Mark's return to their lives still felt uncertain, laden with unease. Thanks for sharing this with me, she finally said, swallowing hard. It means a lot to know you care. Mr. Thompson smiled. I'm here for the kids. Just remember to take it one step at a time. That portrait may be the key to starting a new chapter. As they wrapped up their conversation, Sarah watched Mark's laughter echo across the room with Lucas playing nearby. A sudden shift whispered possibilities into her heart. Before she could catch her breath, Lucas's happy shout broke through her reverie. Mom! Come look at the mural we made together. His eyes sparkled with delight as he beckoned both her and Mark to join. Sarah glanced back at Mr. Thompson, who gave her an encouraging smile before she turned, her heart racing at the thought of what Lucas had created. Taking a deep breath, she said, "Let us go see it." As they stepped toward Lucas, they formed an unlikely trio, yet every step brought her closer to understanding their new journey. Would the mural reveal more than just their creativity? Would it show how Lucas longed for them to be a family? They reached the mural, vibrant colors and crayon sketches bursting with joy. But as Sarah stood there, contemplating the mosaic of their lives, a deeper question nudged at her soul. Was she truly ready to embrace this change, not just for Lucas, but for herself too? What if every line and stroke reflected their future together? How would she respond to that vision? And at what cost would this new beginning come? The mural spread before them like a portal, alive with color. Lucas's little hands had mixed blues and yellows to create the sky, while vibrant greens hugged the bottom like a soft carpet, inviting their family into a world of imagination. Sarah felt her breath catch as she took in each detail, each crayon line, each joyful burst of color. "Look! That's you, Mom!" Lucas exclaimed, pointing at a stick figure resembling her, complete with her long hair and a big smile. "And Dad?" He laughed, inching closer to the drawing to highlight his rendition of Mark, who stood tall next to her, a larger stick figure with a triumphant grin. "Wow, buddy! This is amazing!" Sarah said, her voice shaky with emotion. She knelt down beside him, her heart swelling with pride and a pinch of nostalgia. Memories of better times flickered in her mind, Mark's infectious laughter, the warmth they used to share, and how effortless it all seemed. "Do you like it?" Lucas asked, the wide eyes darting between both parents, each awaiting their response. "I love it," she said, glancing at Mark's equally awestruck expression. The moment felt fragile, yet it pulsed with a hope she hadn't quite recognized before. Mark leaned down slightly, his eyes soft. "You've really captured us, Lucas. This is special." Lucas beamed, happiness radiating from him. "I wanted to show how we can be a family. Together." Sarah's heart sank a little. Was this what they really could be? Did her son still believe in that happily ever after? The question echoed in her mind as she caught Mark's gaze, searching for confirmation. "Together," Mark repeated, almost to himself. The word hung in the air, charged with possibilities and uncertainties. What did it mean for them now, as co-parents navigating a complex dance of emotions? "I think," Sarah hesitated, her voice faltering, but she pressed on. "I think we should talk with him. Let him share how he feels about all of it, you know." "That's a good idea," Mark replied, nodding slowly. "He deserves to have his voice heard." Lucas bounced on the tips of his shoes, clearly eager for a conversation. "You can talk about the family." His excitement was palpable, and it sent a fresh wave of warmth through Sarah. But as she met Mark's eyes again, a wave of anxiety washed over her. Questions swirled in her mind. What if their talk led to a path neither of them was ready to take? "Let us sit down together, just the three of us," Mark suggested, glancing around the busy room. "Maybe this can be our start." As Lucas squealed in delight, eagerly guiding them toward a quieter corner, the whisper of hope mingled with the fear of what lay ahead. For the first time in a long while, she found herself genuinely hoping, dreaming even, of a family revival. Would confronting their feelings lead to healing? Or would it bring to light the fractures still lingering beneath? It was time to face Lucas and his monumental dreams head-on. But was she prepared to journey through the tangled feelings that lay ahead? As they settled into a small circle, Sarah's heart raced not only for what they would discuss, but also for what this pivotal moment could mean for all of them. Would they rediscover the path to being a family, or would it resurrect painful wounds that still ached? Breath shallow, she looked at her son, expecting the world to shift as they opened up. What would Lucas reveal in this moment of honesty? How could they untangle the threads of their past and weave something new together? "Mommy, I want to tell you both something really important," Lucas declared, his little shoulders bouncing with excitement. He squeezed Sarah's hand and leaned closer to Mark, trapping both adults in the pure anticipation of a child's heart. His innocent enthusiasm filled the small space between them. Sarah glanced at Mark, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of hope reflected in his eyes. Perhaps this was the moment they had all been waiting for. "What is it, buddy?" Sarah asked, her voice steady but warm. "I made a wish," Lucas proclaimed, his eyes wide like saucers. "A family wish." His sincerity wrapped around them like a cozy blanket. "A family wish?" Mark asked, echoing Lucas's earlier fervor. "What kind of wish?" Lucas glanced down at the ground, mustering courage. "That we can all be, together. Like a family again." His words hung in the air, a bell ringing clear and honest. Sarah felt her heart race. Each beat echoed the shadow of pain from the past, but also the bright possibility of a future infused with love. "Together?" she repeated. "What would that look like to you, sweetheart?" With all the intensity his little heart could muster, Lucas said, "Like when we used to play at the park. We would run and laugh and eat ice cream, all three of us." His face lit up with memories. Mark exchanged a quick glance with Sarah. There was so much history bound in those memories. So much joy mingled with hurt. "It sounds beautiful, Lucas," Sarah said softly. "But we need to understand what it means to be together now. Things have changed." Lucas leaned in, his expression urging. "But we can change together. We can make the nice times happen again." Sarah felt the walls she had built around her heart beginning to crack. Could it really be that easy? Did trusting and rebuilding their family dynamics hinge on the breath of a child? She glanced at Mark, who mirrored her thoughts. His vulnerability shimmered in his eyes, revealing the weight of the past he was willing to share. "That sounds like a wonderful idea, buddy. Maybe we can find ways to do things as a family again. Start small, just like Mr. Thompson said," Mark encouraged. "Yeah. Like game nights or going to the zoo. I want to help too." Lucas chimed in, bouncing in his seat, squashed between determination and nostalgia. Sarah felt a rush of conflicting emotions. She squeezed Lucas's hand now, gathering strength. "I would love that. But we need promises, don't we?" Lucas nodded earnestly. "Yes. Promises are important." He looked up at both adults, his little face earnest and sincere. Mark leaned forward, his expression earnest. "I promise to be here for both of you and to do my best to earn your trust again." The words resonated in the small bubble of their space, raw, powerful, but woven with caution. A part of Sarah wanted to respond with skepticism, the other yearned to believe. "Can I promise too?" Lucas interjected eagerly. "I promise to always share my drawings and to help everyone remember our family fun times." As laughter spilled between them, it felt like the rust of old wounds was polishing over, revealing a potential necklace of new memories waiting to be created. "Let's try, together," Sarah finally said, feeling the weight in her chest lift. Step by step. Day by day. With hope lighting the way, they shifted the conversation to practical steps. They shared dreams of picnics at the park, movie nights piled under blankets, and art projects that celebrated their journey forward. In that small, secluded corner, surrounded by the bustling echoes of the community that had once felt insurmountable, something shifted. There was a shift in their universe. As they discussed plans to grow together, a noticeable lightness began to pervade the atmosphere. Each shared thought, each laugh began to bridge the gaps of their collective history. Memories intertwined, stories made space for one another, and somehow, they became a tapestry weaving a stronger narrative of what it meant to be a family. "I think we can change, right?" Lucas asked, his voice imbued with both innocence and wisdom. "We just have to believe we can." "Together, we can," Sarah responded, this time with conviction. As they spoke of feeling hopeful and embracing love, shadows began to dissipate, the echoes of disappointment fading. A few days later, as the full morning sun streamed through their small apartment window, Sarah reveled in the simple joy of life. She watched Lucas at the kitchen table, sketching a new comic character he named Family Guy, one who had the power to mend hearts and build bridges. "Look, Mommy. Family Guy can fix anything," Lucas exclaimed, showing her the crayon-drawn figure smiling widely, surrounded by thick outlines of vivid love. Tears pooled in Sarah's eyes. "Exactly, sweetheart. Family can do that." Lucas's laughter wrapped around her like a warm hug. They were embarking on an incredible journey of healing, for there was a palpable shift in the air, a collective sigh of relief as the budding roots of trust began to sprout again. As Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her, she realized that hope wasn't just something they wished for, it was a fire they could ignite together. They had the power to create a future filled with warmth, laughter, and love. And in that moment, she made a silent vow to nurture not just Lucas's dreams but her own as well. Because now, they were not simply surviving, they were living, growing, and building a life that reflected hope. They had claimed the right to hope, and with that came a purpose to rise above their past and embrace a brighter tomorrow. Standing together, Sarah, Mark, and Lucas melted into the new rhythm of their lives, side by side. And that morning, Sarah knew there was no more doubt left to hold her back. They would heal, together. It was a new dawn, bursting with colors more vibrant than any crayon could capture. And that was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now to catch more exclusive stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support us. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful transformation. Together, let us keep hope alive.